If you've ever considered family a source of strength, my experience might challenge that belief. I once trusted in the ties that bind, but when my daughter needed help the most, my parents, the ones I expected to stand by me, chose social gatherings and status over her. Now, after I've lost everything, they've returned, asking for my support. I'm not the fragile person I once was. I'm Daniel, 32, and I run a small interior design company in Austin, Texas. I'm not rich, but I'm not scraping by either. I make enough to provide for my wife and my 8-year-old daughter, Lily. I work hard to keep our life steady, not lavish, but free from the constant stress of financial strain. My family doesn't belong to the elite, though my parents, Martin and Linda, have always chased that illusion. They manage a well-known furniture store. Not wealthy, but comfortable enough for a large house, nice cars, and weekend parties with friends. For them, success isn't about joy, it's about how others see them. I'm the oldest son, with my younger brother, Ryan, trailing me by 2 years. Even as a kid, I sensed the favoritism. An A from me earned a nod. Expected, they'd say. A B+ from Ryan meant a cake and celebration. When I started college, they barely noticed, but Ryan's turn at a local school sparked a grand send-off party. Living in that world taught me early on, I couldn't count on them. I poured myself into work, gained independence, and built my life from the ground up. I never asked my parents for anything. Yet I couldn't have foreseen the day they'd prioritize a party over their granddaughter's life. After college, I joined a small interior design firm in Austin as a design assistant. The work wasn't flashy, but I loved it. Every sketch, every detail in a space, brought me a sense of purpose. 2 years in, with enough experience under my belt, I struck out on my own, launching my own company. It was modest, but it gave me freedom and a chance to chase what I loved. That's when I met Emma. It was a bright September afternoon. I was rearranging my small furniture store, checking inventory, when she walked in, hunting for a reading chair. At first, she was just another customer, but we ended up sitting together, talking for an hour about books, music, dreams, and half-made plans. A year later, we were married. Then came Lily, a vibrant little girl with eyes that sparkled like Emma's. When Lily arrived, Emma and I felt our happiness was unbreakable. We weren't wealthy, but we had enough. I ran my design company and Emma taught preschool. Life was full, even if hectic. But we overlooked one critical thing: health insurance. As a small business owner, I didn't have a company plan. Private options were costly, and since we were all healthy, we delayed it, thinking we'd sort it out when money was less tight, a choice that would haunt me forever. Lily was always bursting with energy, but 5 years ago, one winter evening when she was 3, I noticed something off. She had a nagging cough at night. Emma and I brushed it off as a cold at first, but weeks passed, and it lingered. It worsened. She grew tired, stopped eating much, ran a low fever that wouldn't quit, and sometimes paused mid-play to catch her breath. One afternoon, while Emma played with her in the living room, Lily collapsed. "Mommy, I'm so tired," she said. Emma scooped her up, frantic, and called me. I raced home to find my daughter breathing fast, her eyes distant. I didn't hesitate. I carried her to the car and sped to the emergency room. The doctor's face was grim when he returned with the CT scan. "Daniel, we found a congenital defect in Lily's lung. It's pressing on her airway, and she needs surgery now before it gets worse." The world dropped out from under me. A 3-year-old with a lung issue? How could this happen to my little girl? But the real blow was still coming. The doctor took me to the billing office, where they handed me a $120,000 estimate. "We can do the surgery right away," they said, "but the hospital needs payment assurance. Do you have insurance?" I didn't. In that instant, I grasped the full weight of my mistake in delaying insurance, convinced we could do without it. Now, my daughter was suffering the consequences. I clutched Emma's hand, fighting to keep my fear in check. "We'll find the money somehow. Just save her." But how could I possibly gather $120,000 so quickly? A faint hope lingered that my parents might step in, though I never imagined they'd let me down so completely. I didn't expect them to sweep me into their arms and promise to handle everything. Still, I thought they'd offer something, anything. Lily was their granddaughter, after all. How could a grandfather and grandmother stand idle while their grandchild teetered on the brink of life and death? I drove to their house, my chest tight with dread. Stepping inside, I found them immersed in a party, the rooms buzzing with guests. Music filled the air, Wine glasses gleamed in the hands of finely dressed people, and the scent of costly perfume mingled with lavish food. They were throwing a celebration for Ryan's upcoming wedding. They rejoiced while I stood there, desperate to save my daughter's life. I approached my parents, straining to keep my composure. "Mom, Dad, I need to speak with you. It's urgent." My mother frowned, waving me off to finish her conversation with a guest. I had to try again, my voice shaking this time. My father turned to me, irritated by the interruption. "Daniel, can't this wait?" I gritted my teeth, barely containing my fury. "Lily has a tumor in her lung. She needs surgery now, or she might not survive." I paused, expecting some sign of alarm. They could have asked where she was, if she was in danger, what the doctor had said. But there was nothing. No questions about Lily. Not even a hint of concern crossed their faces. I pressed on, swallowing my pride. "The hospital demands $120,000 before they'll operate. I've tried everything." "Daniel, Ryan's wedding is already set. We can't change it now." I blinked, stunned by her words. My father folded his arms, his tone as flat as a businessman tallying losses. "We've spent $300,000 on the wedding. If we give you that money, it won't happen." I stared, a chill seeping through me. They poured $300,000 into Ryan's extravagant day but wouldn't lift a finger for Lily's life. I turned to Ryan, the brother I'd always shielded and supported. He stood there in a crisp suit, champagne in hand, eyeing me like I was a nuisance. I let go of my dignity. I sank to my knees in the midst of the bustling party. "Ryan, I'm begging you, help with just a fraction. I'll repay you. But Lily will die without it." I looked up, pleading for a shred of mercy. He stepped back, as if I were beneath him. He sneered. "You think I'll derail my wedding for this? I have my fiancée and my future to think about." I can't help. I couldn't fathom it. I'd humbled myself before my brother, and he mocked me. Guests murmured around me. Some laughed. Others shook their heads, as if I were a pitiful clown. My father gripped my shoulder, his voice icy. "Stand up, Daniel. You're humiliating us in front of everyone." I rose slowly, no longer their son in spirit. I faced them, my words sharp with resentment. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Ryan. Today, I see who my true family is and who's just a stranger." I turned and left, not glancing back. Outside, rain poured from a rising sky, drenching me as I stood motionless on the doorstep, numb to everything but the ache in my chest. I'd begged. I'd knelt. And all I got was cold rejection. I stumbled to my car, slammed the door, and broke down, sobbing like a child. I didn't hold back anymore, my cries muffled against the steering wheel. The storm outside mirrored the one within me. Then Lily's face flashed in my mind. She was still fighting, gasping for air in that hospital bed. I couldn't collapse now. I wiped my eyes, took a shaky breath, and sped back to her. At the hospital, my in-laws were waiting. They weren't rich, just hardworking. Ordinary folks. My mother-in-law rushed to me, seizing my hands, her eyes swollen with worry. "Daniel, you're drenched. Did your parents agree to help?" I couldn't speak. My car, gone for $15,000. Our savings, $500, vanished in a heartbeat. I borrowed from friends and coworkers. My staff, many just getting by, still pitched in. A new hire, with us only 6 months, slipped $500 into my hand. "Boss, it's not much, but it's all I've got." An old colleague I hadn't seen in years sent $3,000. "I owed you once. This squares it." Every dollar, every small gesture, fueled the effort to save Lily, but it wasn't enough. I sold my computer, my watch, our furniture. Our home emptied out day by day. Still, I was $40,000 short. As I scrambled for the rest, my in-laws called. "Daniel, how much more do you need?" My father-in-law's voice was firm, steady. I hesitated, ashamed to admit it, but I had no choice. "We're still $40,000 away." A pause hung on the line. Then my mother-in-law spoke, her tone calm and sure. "Okay, come get the money tomorrow." I stood there, speechless. But where could you possibly find that kind of money? My father-in-law gave a quiet laugh, tender yet resolute. "We sold our house. If it means Lily gets well, it's worth every penny." I stood there, motionless. They'd given up their home for their granddaughter. My own parents had turned their backs on their own blood. Yet my in-laws, bound to me only by marriage, surrendered everything for Lily. Tears broke free, unstoppable. I don't even know how to respond. My father-in-law's smile was gentle but firm. As long as Lily's healthy, that's what counts, son. With their contribution, I finally had the full amount. Lily's surgery went smoothly. When the doctor emerged and said the operation was a success, she'll recover in time, I sank into a chair, hands covering my face, overwhelmed by a relief I'd never known. Emma wept, my mother-in-law held her close, and my father-in-law stood steady, nodding as if he'd always known it would work out. Reflecting on it all, I realized something. Family isn't about blood. It's about who stands with you when the world goes dark. From that moment, I vowed never to beg my birth parents again. I'd already found my true family. After the chaos, the skies cleared. Perhaps even fate was touched by the love we shared, easing its grip on me. 2 weeks later, Lily left the hospital. She grew stronger daily, each small step brimming with vitality. As I wheeled her out that day, she looked up at me, her smile dazzling. Daddy, I want to run and play again. Tears welled up, but they were joyful this time. I pulled her close, feeling the steady thump of her heart. I glanced at Emma, her eyes warm with love. We'd walked through fire, but a new chapter lay ahead. Yet beneath it all, a flame still flickered. I hadn't forgotten kneeling in vain. I hadn't forgotten my parents' icy dismissal. I hadn't forgotten Ryan's smug grin. They'd scorned me. Now, I'd show them what I could become. Once Lily was well, I threw myself into work. It wasn't just about survival anymore. I worked to repay those who'd trusted in me. I worked to honor those who'd lifted me up. I worked to prove I needed no one's pity. I'd forge my own path. I rose at 5 a.m. daily, grinding through 16-hour shifts. I devoured knowledge, management, investments, growth. Interior design became just the start. I took on hotels, shopping centers, office towers. No chance passed me by. Nights blurred into deadlines. Meetings stacked up. Negotiations grew intense. Every obstacle stoked the fire within. Then, things shifted. A year after Lily's discharge, I secured the biggest deal of my life. A $2 million project for a major real estate firm. 3 years later, my company had ballooned fivefold, rising from a tiny outfit to a regional leader. My name graced business magazines. From nothing to millions. Daniel's journey. The man who rose from ruin. A story etched in sweat and tears. My parents saw those headlines. They watched me on TV, speaking at a conference. But I wasn't their desperate son anymore. I was Daniel, the self-made man who'd built an empire from ashes. Last year, Forbes interviewed me after my firm ranked among the 50 fastest-growing design companies. The journalist leaned in, eyes alight with curiosity and respect. Daniel, what fueled your rise? I smiled. A knowing curve to my lips. I once had a family I thought would be my rock. But when I needed them most, they turned away. I knelt, pleading for help to save my daughter. And they said they'd already spent everything on my brother's wedding. Her jaw dropped. You mean they chose a party over their granddaughter's life? I nodded. Exactly. And I'm grateful to them. Their callousness lit a fire in me to prove I didn't need them. Their cruelty turned my rage into triumph. I didn't dodge or soften it. I named them outright. My parents, Martin and Linda. My brother, Ryan. Thank you for showing me family isn't blood, it's who's there when you're breaking. The interview aired. Headlines erupted. Millionaire entrepreneur exposes family's abandonment of dying daughter for lavish wedding. Shocking betrayal. Grandparents partied while grandchild suffered. When wealth trumps life. A tale of heartless kin. The story spread like wildfire. Millions raged. Social media boiled over. How can people be so cold? What grandparents treat their own like garbage? Ryan's wife must rue marrying a man who'd let his niece die for a bash. But their reckoning was just beginning. After the interview, my parents' business partners walked away. Loyal clients vanished. Their network crumbled. The same crowd that once toasted them at grand parties now shunned them. No one deals with monsters. My parents were cast out of their once proud world. They had stood tall among the elite, but now they were left with nothing. Isolated and broken. And Ryan, who once thought he'd triumphed with his grand wedding, stunning wife, and easy life, had pitied me as I knelt before him, a failure in his eyes. Now his life unraveled. When Ava, his wife, read my interview, she recoiled in disgust. Ryan, tell me this isn't true. He fumbled for words. But truth needs no defense. Days later, she filed for divorce. She couldn't stay with a man who'd let his niece languish for a celebration. Ryan lost it all, A marriage rooted in selfishness was doomed to collapse. In the end, the callous were left with only their reflections. Years back, I'd knelt, pleading for their aid. And they'd mocked me, deeming me less than a party. Now the world had shunned them. I felt no remorse. Success wasn't merely vengeance against those who'd forsaken me. It was a chance to lift up those who'd stood by me in the abyss. I turned to my friends, co-workers, and staff, the ones who'd scraped together every penny to save Lily. I longed to repay them, to multiply their kindness tenfold. I summoned them to my office, offering envelopes stuffed with cash, proposing to clear their debts or fund their aspirations. They declined. Their smiles soft and genuine, echoing the day they pressed their last dollars into my hands. Boss, you don't owe us this. You've done what few could, risen above it all. We helped because we saw something in you, not for reward. Speechless, I clasped their hands, gratitude swelling beyond expression. These were the ones who'd taught me what family truly means. Yet one debt gnawed at me, my in-laws. They'd sold their home for Lily, content now in a modest rental. I couldn't let that stand unanswered. After her discharge, I spent a year plotting to restore what they'd given up. I quietly tracked down their old house's new owner, haggled, and struck deals until I bought it back. When I handed them the keys, my mother-in-law stood still, tears brimming. Daniel, how did you manage this? I rested a hand on her shoulder, smiling. You gave me everything when I had nothing. This is the least I could do. My father-in-law paused, then gripped my shoulder with quiet pride. I always knew you had it in you, son. That night, we shared a true family meal, a warmth I hadn't felt in years. 5 years after Lily's ordeal, with our family soon to grow, I chose to expand our roots. I bought a larger home, not just for Emma, Lily, and our unborn child, but for my in-laws to join us. They'd given me shelter when I'd lost all. Now, I wanted them free of worry. Lily beamed at the news of a sibling. When I told her grandparents would live with us, she leapt into my arms. Daddy, I'll see Grandma and Grandpa every day. I tousled her hair, grinning. Yes, sweetheart, they'll always be near. Seeing her bright smile, I knew it deep within. Everything had aligned at last. I thought I'd never face my parents again. But a month ago, as I reviewed contracts in my office, my phone buzzed. An unfamiliar number. I wavered, then answered. Daniel, it's Mom. That voice, unheard for years, the one that had watched me beg and walked away. Now it quivered with regret and desperation. Can you help us? I stayed silent. She exhaled unsteadily, pressing on. We're in deep trouble. We mortgaged the house, and the bank's about to take it. We need $200,000 to hold on. $200,000. I recalled begging for $120,000 to save Lily's life. Only for them to choose a party. I remembered kneeling, their rejection swift and unyielding, my father's frigid stare, Ryan's smirk, their claim that a wedding outranked a life. Now they sought my aid. I inhaled deeply, voice steady. Mom, do you recall when I came to you desperate? Silence. I went on. I knelt before you and Dad, said Lily might die without that money. Do you remember? Her voice broke. I do. But I cut in. You refused. Said Ryan's wedding mattered more. Let me leave without a glance. She sobbed. I know I was wrong. Please, Daniel, we need you now. A hollow laugh escaped me. Tell me, Mom, what's more vital, a party or your house? She went quiet. I pressed forward. You picked a party over your granddaughter. Now stripped bare. You think I'll save you? Her cries intensified. But we're family, Daniel. Family helps each other. Family. I chuckled, sharp and empty. No, Mom. My real family already did. My in-laws, my co-workers. Strangers with more heart than my own kin. She pleaded, frantic. You can't be this cruel. You can't let us lose it all. My tone hardened. Mom, I lost you, and Dad the day you left me and Lily behind. I hung up without pause. That night, after tucking Lily in, I sat with Emma and my in-laws in the living room, recounting it all. I spoke of my mother's call, their looming foreclosure. My unflinching refusal. I expected Emma to back me up. Instead, she held my gaze for a long moment before taking my hand gently. Daniel, I get why you'd refuse them, but maybe reconsider. I furrowed my brow, stunned by her words. Emma, they left our daughter to die. How can I overlook that? She nodded, her eyes still warm. I'm not saying forgive them. Do it for yourself. So you're not haunted by regret later. I looked to my in-laws, hoping they'd side with me. My father-in-law shook his head, voice steady. Son, We're not telling you to let it go. Sometimes helping doesn't mean weakness. It shows you're stronger than them. My mother-in-law spoke softly. You've got it all now. A family, a thriving career, a future. They've got nothing but desperation. Help them, and you're the one who comes out on top. I stayed silent, nodded, and stepped onto the balcony. For hours, I stood under the night sky, lost in thought. I relived that day begging, kneeling before Ryan, their swift rejection. I'd thought denying them would feel good, but it didn't. Just a hollow void. The next day, I called Mason, my finance-savvy friend. Mason, can you verify something? Are my parents really losing their house, or is this a ploy? He didn't pry. Give me 3 hours. 3 hours later, his email landed. It was true. They were broke, the house mortgaged, $200,000 from collapse. I stared at the screen, a strange weight settling in. They'd had wealth, prestige, networks. Now they teetered on the edge. And I held their fate. I dialed my mother. She answered instantly, voice trembling with hope. Daniel? I kept my tone even. Mom, I'll help. One condition. Anything, just say it. You and Dad come to my company in person. I'll hand you the money. She paused, then rushed out. Okay, we'll be there soon. That afternoon, I waited in my office, a black suitcase on my desk, $200. 000 in cash, 20 pristine $10,000 stacks. It meant little to me now, but to them, it was their last tether to their old life. The door swung open. My parents entered. Shadows of their former selves, my father gaunt, my mother weary, silver threading her hair. They sat, eyes flickering with anticipation. I said nothing, unlatched the suitcase, and revealed the cash. My mother's breath caught. My father swallowed hard. I slid it toward them. This is $200,000. Enough to save your house. My father snapped it shut, gripping it like a lifeline, nodding fast. Thank you, Daniel. You see, family matters after all. I gave a sharp, humorless laugh. No, Dad, you're mistaken. Family does matter, just not this one. Their expressions froze. I leaned back, arms crossed, staring them down. Know why I'm doing this? My mother shook her head. My father stayed mute. Not out of pity or reconciliation. I want you to grasp one thing. This is it. I drummed my fingers on the desk, voice like steel. After today, I'm gone from your lives. Leave this room, and I'm dead to you. My mother sobbed. My father clutched the case tighter, face ashen. Daniel, don't say that. We're family. I smirked, echoing their old taunts. You're clever, right? Always figure things out? You'll manage alone. My father's lips thinned. My mother wept harder. But I was unmoved. I stood, gave them a final look, and nodded to security. Escort them out. The guards opened the door, motioning them to go. They gripped the suitcase, wordless. The door shut, severing us for good. They left with $200,000, but I was no longer theirs. I expected relief, but felt nothing. No joy, no triumph, no rage. Just a quiet close. One certainty lingered. They'd return. They've lost it all, and I'm their only lifeline. A year, maybe 2, they'll call again, needing more, or Ryan pleading trouble. They'll wield tears, promises, every tactic to reel me back. But will I let them? Now, I turn to you, my audience. Was I right? Should I offer another chance, or cut them off for good? What would you do if those who abandoned you came crawling back? Share your thoughts below.